The Force is the most singular, important thing in Star Wars. It's the one thing that connects every living being, creature, and physical aspect of this galaxy far, far away together as one. It's the one thing that has fascinated me for so long. It's a bit of a reflection on our life, in our world. It's about light and dark, people who choose chaos or they choose to bring balance. But today we ask the big questions. We want to get to know the Force, to understand the intricacies, the importance of chaos, the importance of the light and the dark and how they clash in order to create balance. We talk about the Chosen One. We talk about everything to do with the Force to give you guys a comprehensive idea before you dive into the Skeleton Crew coming in December. Only a few weeks away. So I wrote down a lot of stuff. I wrote down a lot of information on this good, handy book here because I really didn't want to fuck this up. Now, a lot of big creators, they have teleprompters and they've got them up there so you can see all of the things. But no, we don't do this. We do this live. I wrote down every single thing here and we get to hear from the fans at the end. At the end, I actually I put on my Instagram earlier on yesterday, about how I wanted to know what you guys thought of the Force. Don't worry about definitions. I want to hear your definition of it. And I got a couple of really good responses. So hang around to the end to hear about this one. But I wanted to break this down in different sections. And I want to start off with the nature of the Force. So, balance. The Force operates as a metaphysical energy field connecting all life in the Star Wars galaxy. Characters like Jedi describe balance as a harmony between all things, and yet there's a paradox. Jedi masters like Yoda and Mace view the dark side as a disruption to balance, implying balance requires suppression or eradication. Meanwhile, other sources, like in the Mortis arc, so if you guys have seen the Clone Wars, it's basically the arc where you get to see the father, the daughter, and the son. So meanwhile, other sources show the father, the son, and the daughter in harmony, suggesting both sides are necessary for the Force. So, it begs the questions. Does balance mean equality between light and dark or dominance of one side? Now, we kind of get to see this at the end of the prequels in Revenge of the Sith. So, the Jedi are actually super corrupt by this time. It's the one thing that the Acolyte really wanted to drive home, but honestly failed to do. Because what they wanted to show was that the light side were just inherently bad. They were bad people making bad choices. But it wasn't that. It was about the corruption. Now, I bring up this Count Dooku quote every single time. But to paraphrase it, it is, "You live amongst corruption for so long, you no longer notice its stench." Basically, Yoda had become accustomed to the corruption of the Jedi. The thought of taking children away in order to train them for their greater good. To break families, to deharmonize a family situation in order to build your ranks and to gather a larger connection within the Force. It's a terrible idea. The idea that these guys are the peacekeepers and now they're turned into warmongers. It's an interesting way to look at it, right? Because at the end of the prequels, you get to see the dark side kind of taking over, and it is a lot more balance when they come to get to those points. But in the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, we see a domination of the light, and I don't think that's good. I think as the Force itself, that is such an inherently bad idea to be completely controlled by one side. Be that good or bad. I think whichever side is in power, they just lead to doing the wrong thing anyway. With supreme power comes supreme problems. Now, what they've got is they've got all of the chancellors on their side. They've got all of these different politicians and everything leading towards the Jedi, allowing them to do whatever they want. They're creating clones, beings that have a complete disregard of life, who only follow orders. Inherently, that is what they do. They don't care about anything about what other than what the Jedi say. They will listen to their every single whim. It's an interesting thing to look at, because if the dark side had risen to balance that, would there be as much balance? Would there actually, or would it need to be a teetering side? So we ask the next question. What if balance is dynamic, like nature, where periods of chaos leads to long-term stability? Now, when I talk about periods of chaos, I'm talking about wars, corruption, all that kind of stuff. Massive events in order to physically change the environment in which we're living in. It's kind of the concept of, well, the Clone Wars, right? A lot of what I deem to be the understanding of the Force is from the prequels, because the prequels were really so inherently... I mean, there was such a beautiful representation of what the Force truly is. You know, we see the light, the dark, and the grey. I know a lot of people don't like the grey Jedi, but I will talk about that opinion in just a bit. So, for the long-term stability, do we need to rise and fall and rise and fall? Or could there be an inherent blanket of balance? Personally, I think it's needed to rise and to fall, because it actually removes corruption in itself. Like it or not, the dark side removed the most corrupt version of the Jedi that there possibly were. In the Jedi and Sith times, there were, in the great wars of the Old Republic, we get to see these amazing battles between virtuous Jedi and evil Sith to create a true understanding of balance within the Force. Now, if the Force wanted to, it could take certain people away. It could limit the power. We've already talked about the rule of two and how it separates the power between two people compared to that of the many Jedi. But that's not going to be in the topic for today. Because the important part is understanding the importance of chaos and balance. So, chaos in the Force. The Sith thrive on chaos, viewing it as the Force's natural state. Their belief is that order through domination stifles the galaxy's potential. Like Sidious, who manipulates... Like Sidious, whose manipulations cause widespread destruction and the cause of the rise of Luke Skywalker. Chaos can also be seen in the choices characters make. Anakin's fall and Luke's refusal to kill Vader are pivotal moments where chaos reshapes the galaxy's destiny. So the question I ask here, is chaos a total lack of growth or just destruction? And then the second one, does chaos balance the scales by shaking stagnant systems like the Jedi Order? So in order to remove the Jedi Order, you would need a big shakeup. Anakin and his fall, Luke's refusal to kill. It's chaos on both sides. Because when it gets to the point of Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Order are done. All of the power that has gone into the Force and to the light side of the Force is spread out amongst the galaxy for the minimal amounts of Jedi. I mean, right now it seems like there are so many random Jedi that survived Order 66. But for the sake of this argument, we talk about the main characters. We talk about the main people that we see within the Jedi of the movie era, right? So we get to see the prequels, the original trilogy, who lasted. So we've got Obi-Wan, we've got Luke, we've got Yoda. Effectively, we've got that. Obviously, we know Cal Kestis is going on in the back. Don't worry about that. So we get to see the idea of the light side of the Force, kind of in the way of the rule of two. With a chaotic movement in the Force granted Luke Skywalker, the son of the Force, effectively. We get to see him rise up, become powerful. But in itself, that is chaos. That is turmoil. We see him go train with Yoda, and Yoda tells him, no, I cannot train you. I see what's inside of here. I see the darkness, the teetering towards the dark. I can't do that because he is dogmatic in his approach. Yoda doesn't understand that what happened before was his own cause. Yes, later on we get to see in the sequels he harbors different ideas. He harbors a different view on the Jedi. But that's not as important as this moment right here, because the ultimate chaos that Luke created in order to completely remove himself from Vader, from Yoda, I mean, there was zero influence. Vader himself, Sidious himself, and Yoda himself, all of them completely disobeyed by the one guy who I effectively see as bringing balance to the Force. Now, obviously, Anakin was the final one who turned at the end, and his inevitable choice to destroy Sidious, although coming back later, he brought balance to the Force. Yes, but it would not be without the chaotic movements of Luke. So, is that a destruction of the balance? Well, there was really no balance at the time. There was no balance. The Sith were completely taken over. The Jedi, nothing to do with this great order that the Empire had created. Sidious had masterminded this great plan to destroy every single good thing about the galaxy. And Luke came in to destroy him. It kind of makes you think about chaos and its importance. Did we need Luke? Yes. But also, did we need the Empire? Now, we didn't need the great evils that they brought, but I feel like we did need them. I feel like we needed that chaos, that shaking in the system to just completely remove this stagnant idea of the Jedi, this corrupt order, dogmatic leaders who only seek the destruction of their enemy and not for the balance of, the balance of the Force, the balance of the galaxy. The whole world in which they live in, the policing force, had become this disgusting, corrupted idea. I mean, leading towards kind of what the Sith did anyway. The Jedi became the Sith, and the Sith became the Jedi, and they just did the most horrible, horrible ideas. So let's talk about the interpretations, right? The key interpretations. The Jedi viewpoint. The Jedi philosophy centers on detachment, emotional control, and selflessness. While noble in theory, it has its flaws. The denial of emotions often backfires. Anakin's inability to express or reconcile his love for Padme created internal turmoil, leading to his fall. Now, some people might talk about Ahsoka being the reason for his failure and his fall to the dark side, which inherently is a failure. To give in to your deepest desires, your darkest rituals. Well, it's not necessarily good, but beyond the point. I personally believe that the Jedi were the reason, not just for Ahsoka. Not Ahsoka's fall and he had his last shred of hope in Ahsoka. Not at all. Not at all. His fall was the fact that the Jedi were not there for him. The Jedi couldn't understand the necessity to build this character, to build this student, this pupil, into being the best that they could have. He could have been the good change, the good implementation of slight dark. Because it kind of makes you think, right? Now, Mace Windu, he has a purple lightsaber. Now, you might be thinking, what are you on about? Well, the purple lightsaber signifies that he has teetered with the dark. He uses dark side form. He can use all 7 forms in one. He's a reason why he's so powerful, why he's so strong. But he's accepted part of the dark to turn it into the light. Why couldn't Anakin? It's that complete refusal to allow him to grow. You see him when he's younger, like, no, he's too old. We can't indoctrinate him. That's not balance. That's not balance in the Force. That Jedi viewpoint is so disgusting. The Jedi rigidity. Oh my God, rigidity. Oh my God, I just fucking had a stroke. The Jedi rigidity can alienate people. I can't read my writing. Let's start again. Jedi rigidity can alienate people. Ahsoka left the Order because it failed to adapt to the nuance, suggesting a suppression to balance. Now, Ahsoka by her leaving, it showed the true intentions of the Jedi. The initial banishment, the initial ridicule and abandonment that they gave Ahsoka was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. For all of the dark things that they have done, peering into Cad Bane's mind, all three just searching through his mind using the Force. It's a disgusting outburst of the sheer power in which corrupted the Jedi. It's the reason for Anakin's fall. Personally, I do believe. But let's talk about the Sith viewpoint. The Sith embraced the dark side, seeing passion and emotion as strengths. The Sith code highlights self-empowerment. Take this quote, for example. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Now, this is a really selfish idea. The idea you want to control your own destiny. It's really what the Sith wanted. They just thought that if you could control your own destiny, if you had that individuality, if you could become selfish and remove all aspects of care for others, you will be ultimately powerful. In order to manipulate the Force around you, you can selfishly be the creator of the future. Ooh. So, the Sith could also argue that balance cannot exist without chaos, which drives progress. Although Palpatine caused terrible chaos amidst the galaxy, he removed the corrupt Jedi Order. Now, I know I talked about this before being kind of important, but they make a really good point. I don't actually think... I think the Sith idea is not bad. I don't actually... Now, this is not propaganda for the Sith. I genuinely don't think what the Sith believe is a bad thing. But I think the way they do it is bad. The idea that anyone can tap into their emotions and to feel how they want to feel, to grow how they want to grow, can be great for the light side. It can be great for so many people to be able to understand, hey, you know what? I'm not going to stand in this rigid kind of standpoint of well, I'm not going to fall to the dark side, so I'm not allowed to have connections, a partner. I'm not allowed to have feelings, hatred, jealousy. I'm not allowed to feel that. Whereas the good part about the Sith is, hey, you know what? Feel it, accept it, believe in it, understand why you feel that way, and harness it for your own intention. That intention could be good. That intention could also be bad, which is why we get into the grey Jedi side of it, right? Let's get into the grey Jedi perspective. Only very small, because the grey Jedis really don't exist. You are just kind of teetering on one side. The way I see the grey Jedi and the concept of them, because I'm only going to talk about a concept. I don't really think there's any grey Jedi. I know some people say Ahsoka, they say even Baylan Skoll now, he's a dark Jedi, he's kind of grey. Qui-Gon Jinn, he's a grey Jedi. No, he's a Jedi. He is absolutely a Jedi. Now, they're on the fucking fence. But they reject both extremes. They look at both sides of it and they say, you know what? I pick a couple of good things from here and I pick a couple of good things from there. Like Qui-Gon, hey, accept your feelings. Accept how you feel. Come on, dude, it's fine. It's fine. I'm here with you. I'm going to support you the whole way because I love you. That's what the Jedi do. That is the true representation of what a grey Jedi could be. Not a grey Jedi. Now, they basically bring balance through harmony within the Force. A harmony of light and dark working together to create that balance. It's the inherent idea of sitting on the fence. Now, I don't necessarily think that's good, but we ask the question. Are grey Jedi a truer representation of balance? Or do or do they risk embodying chaos by rejecting established rules? So, by rejecting the established rules of both the Jedi and also the Sith, we kind of see both sides of it. We kind of see, well, I'm going to reject the darkness of the Sith, and I'm going to reject the corruption of the Jedi. And I'm going to kind of sit in the middle. But I don't necessarily think that they are a true representation of balance. Because in order to have balance, one must fall to each side and begin that turmoil. That, everybody sees the scale of kind of, even a heartbeat. High and low, high and low. To reach your highest high, you must have reached your lowest low. Because you could never appreciate the high without the low. Hello. No, so I don't know what the fuck that was. But to kind of see it in that way, it needs to be in waves. In order to be truly balanced, you need to have the waves of balance. You can't have sitting in the middle the whole time, because then you become corrupted in itself. Because you won't accept the light, you won't accept the dark, you will only accept your personal dogmatic view of the Force, of what you think is the right and wrong thing to do. You're just creating your own religion. You're creating your own perspective on the galaxy and how it's going to continue with or without you. Now, it's kind of like if a lot of my audience is American. So see it like this, right? We've got the Democrats and the Republicans. Then you've got the independents. I'd say the grey Jedi would be the independents. Now, it doesn't matter how great their ideas are. It doesn't matter how incredible they may seem. It's a red or a blue. That's it. It's a dark and a light. Be it whichever side you want to see. I'm not going to go into politics. The grey Jedi are not wrong, but they're not right. They're not that representation of the Force. Let's talk about the representation of the Force. Let's talk about the prophecy of the Chosen One. So, Anakin embodied both light and dark, suggesting his journey, fall, redemption, death, was balance itself. I think it's a practical example of balance. I think he himself is the vessel for our understanding of the Force. George obviously created everything to do with this, and I feel like he it's so easy to get lost in it. To create this vast galaxy that just thrives within itself. It can survive in its own ecosystem. It's why so many people can create so many theories of everything to do with Star Wars, and all of them work well. It's why they get upset. It's why the fan base is so toxic at times, because they don't get what they see could work, because so many things can. I think Anakin is just that practical example. It's the understanding of, well, you could fall, but you can also be redeemed. You can rise, but you can also fall. It depends on how you view it. It depends on how you attack a certain problem, be that an experience of goodness or bad. You can have all of this within Anakin's journey. His death saved the galaxy, but his birth sent it into turmoil. It's a really cool representation. So, let's talk about some other practical examples of balance. Luke. He defied Yoda and the Emperor by refusing to kill Vader. But that one, obviously, choosing both sides, like we talked about before. It works. But it wasn't necessarily good. I think a better representation is The Last Jedi. Now, everybody knows Yoda's scene. I actually love that scene. I think it's my favorite Yoda scene in all of Star Wars. I know it's a bit sacrilegious, but I think they just hit the nail perfectly on the head. Luke, he questions the Jedi legacy. He questions the hypocrisy of the Jedi. All of their dark times melded into one in his brain. He can't see the good from the bad, so he rejects it completely. It takes Rey, who comes in with hope, to change his mind. And when Luke gives in to that hope, he eventually succumbs to the balance. He understands what he did wrong. his attachment to the times of good. You know, when he was looking at the books were burning. It's in that big tree. Yoda brought down lightning from the sky, and he struck the tree that held all of the ancient Jedi texts. And Yoda, he said to him, he was like, "Page turners, they are not." Oh, I should do the voice. "Page turners, they are not." And Luke's there, he's in complete bewilderment. He's looking at it going, like, the ancient Jedi texts, what are you doing? Why would you do this? He goes to run in and save it and to risk his own life to save these books, to save letters on paper. Something that is just not necessary. He sees the failure. Yoda finally comes out and he realizes what he did wrong as a master. And he imparts Luke with the most beautiful advice. Failure is the necessary route for growth. You have to fail in order to grow, to be better, to understand what is right. You must know what is wrong. It's such a beautiful scene. It's such a great idea of this balance. To know as a true Jedi. As a true Jedi, you must give in to the dark and channel it to be light. That is balance. That is what Yoda and Luke, they found. Luke, he went through his dark path. Now, I don't think it was the path that Luke should have gone down. Again, I don't. But it's the practical example that we've been given. Luke went down that dark path and he ignited his lightsaber, attempting to kill Kylo. It's fucking terrible to see that of the greatest Jedi to ever exist. The one that rejected all forms of bad teachings from both sides. To give in to being that person. It was terrible. It was actually terrible to see, but it was a necessary growth for him. He harbored every resentment and channeled that into the light. He gave in to hope. And hope is the most important part of the light, of the rebellion. It's the spark of the rebellion. But he couldn't have done it without Rey. Now, talking about Rey, she had a conflict with one character that I think is another incredible representation of the Force. It's Kylo. I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, well, the sequels were shit. Yeah, okay. They weren't the best. But I think what the meanings were behind everything was fucking phenomenal. The characters were phenomenal. If you put them with better writing, you could have done one of the best movies ever. It really could have. It actually could have. Kylo, his inner conflict reflects the eternal battle between light and dark within the Force. Get into this next page. By sacrificing himself to save Rey, he proved all of it wrong. He proved all of that darkness. Yes, Han was a massive turning factor for him. Because Leia couldn't come back. Han could. In Leia's dying moments, she brought Han to him and turned him completely from the dark to the light. Now, I think Kylo should have been dark the whole time. That should have been the intention. Never should have happened. But Kylo sacrificing his life for Rey and that inner turmoil that he had, he constantly searched for the dark. He needed the dark. Like, he needed to be with Vader and to fulfill his grandfather's dying legacy. He wasn't there in that moment. He was not there in that moment. He did not see the weakness of Vader. But the weakness was his strength. Vader gave in. He became someone powerful, someone better than the one he was before. Because after all the chaos came the high. It's a cool concept. It's a really, really cool concept. But with Kylo and searching constantly for that darkness, all he could find was light. It's that conflict that he constantly had. He's looking at Rey being like, just turn. Why can't you turn? And Rey's sitting there like, no, no, you are good. I know you are. I know who you are. No, I'm bad. Doosh, kill Snoke. Fight Rey. Boosh, destroy the Chosen One's lightsaber. But in the end, he couldn't help himself. He's that true representation of the balance within the Force. So let's talk about the last little bit, right? Before we get into the fan segment. The living Force versus the cosmic Force. Let me get out my notes. The living Force focuses on present life and direct interactions. The cosmic Force encompasses the Force's grand eternal flow, influencing destiny and the galaxy's balance. So it begs the question, is the conflict between light and dark simply a small-scale manifestation of the cosmic Force's broader intentions? I know a lot of you are like, oh my God, Jeremy, how do you fucking come up with these questions? It's because I have a superior intellect. And I also have a great support base. I think what I have is an amazing representation of this question right here. I think the small scale is the large scale. I think the small scale interactions between certain people, it adds to that larger manifestation of what the Force is, that cosmic Force, that grand eternal flow. It's the minor interactions between people. It could be a good deed in a market. You see a kid who can't afford a lollipop. You buy him a lollipop. I think that inherently is that grand idea of the Force. That eternal flow of influencing destiny. That goodness, it snowballs. The small gestures, the how you doing? How can I help you? That influences, snowballs to become something even greater. Now, yes, it could be seen as a chain of, kind of... It's a chain of interactions between people that could be seen in a negative way of like, you owe me something. You owe me this because I did this. But it's not. It's absolutely not. It's that small time where you look at one another and you directly influence someone for good or for bad. That is the Force. That is the idea of the light and the dark. It's the small choices in life that make it something so much bigger. And I'll give you the prime example. Anakin gave up the whole galaxy because he just wanted to save his wife. That's a small thing. If you look at the grand scale of the galaxy, it could be massive intergalactic wars. It could be destruction of people and time and space itself. All Anakin wanted to do was save his wife. It's that small interaction. And that snowballed and became one of the most important factors to build the Empire, to destroy the Jedi. That one small interaction. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of the Force. That it's not necessarily one thing. That you need chaos, you need the great light and the great dark. You need events of grandeur to create the small moments. And those small moments, they are the ones that influence everything to do with the Force itself. So, fan segment time. We have basically I put up on my Instagram, like I said before, just to remind you about I wanted your idea. I wanted your idea about what the Force is. Tell me what you think. And a lot of people gave really good responses. I got 3 amazing responses here. Genuinely, I appreciate you so much. So much. Freddie Erdl says, Force is a living thing, but it is also there to be used to aid oneself and other people. I think that's a really good representation of those small things, the small interactions. To look after one person can in turn look after a group of people. A group of people looks after a whole wide variety of people. It's that snowball interaction of aid. And I think you're bang on. I think it's a really important living thing that manipulates destiny itself. Pop the Bounty Collector. Fucking love this guy. Love him. Energy that you can't see, but you feel. Only way to unlock this is by focusing your mind. I really like that. You can't see it unless it's on that minor, like that micro scale. Because you can see the midichlorians technically, but you can't really see the Force. The midichlorians are the physical embodiment of the Force in everything. I get that. I get that. But when you're focusing your mind, all you're doing is you're aligning yourself with your true intentions. Your true, uninterrupted intentions. That's what's important. That's what's so important. And I love it. I love your idea. I love what you're bringing to this to kind of understand that, well, it's people who search for the better in themselves. They search to understand what they want. Now, the better for themselves might not be the better for other people. Sidious, he wanted to better himself by being the most powerful person. But that wasn't a good thing. It was not a good thing. But you kind of see here, I mean, the way you describe it is perfect. You focus your mind and you get your true intentions. Beautiful, man. And from a absolute G, Star Wars Nerd 00, to finish this off, like always, finishing off with a fucking beautiful one. My interpretation of the Force, or I guess balance of the Force, I like that you put that in there, would be that every single person has a light and dark side in them, but you are in control of every aspect of it and your life. It also means that you listen to and follow the will of the Force to guide you through your journey. It's up to the person how they wield their powers. I'm just going to add on to that one just a little bit. I think the will of the Force is the will of your own. It's the will of the individual. That chaotic movement, be that for good or for bad, light or dark, doesn't matter. The will of the Force is that of your own. It's your own true intentions. Focusing in on your mind to understand how you truly feel. That every living thing can be the reason for change. I love it. I do think everyone has a light and a dark in them. I think it's necessary. I think it's so unbelievably necessary, even as a reflection for our own world. It's a reflection of saying, hey, no matter if you're good or you're bad, you have importance. You are important. The person that I'm talking to on this screen, you are important and you matter. Because every part of your decision affects everyone in this world. The fact that you wake up in the morning and you choose to do good, that is a good thing. And it does amazing things for this world. When you wake up and you choose to do a bad thing, I hope the goodness around you is there to match your darkness and to bring balance and security in your life. It's the same with the Force. I love you all. I love you all so fucking much. I especially love my beautiful girlfriend. Guys, I love talking about this kind of stuff. I love doing this kind of research. I was up all night last night, just constantly just banging out. If you guys want to know, so I got a question from Star Wars Nerd 00 about my previous episode on the Balrog I did with, that was my Blades and Beskar episode. And he was like, oh, you know, where did you get your information from? And it was books and all that kind of stuff. But I will tell you, right? All of my information, everything that I get it from, multiple different sources on the internet, massive amounts of Wikipedia, massive amounts of articles from fans and even directors' viewpoints. And fans, I'll only say if it's canon. Like, I'll only do it if it's canon, like it's been approved by George Lucas or someone, which is, it happens. It really does happen. It's extended scenes, it's dialogue between characters, it's a bunch of different stuff. And if you think I'm wrong, if you think that I could add something in or change a few things, let me know down below. I love interacting with you guys. I love everything that you guys have been doing for me, and I can't thank you enough. I specifically wore, I don't know if you can see, my Yoda bandana today, because He is the wisest of all. In the end, he is the wisest. He's been around for the longest. He's been corrupted for the longest. And he realizes his downfall. Super important. Super, super important. But everyone, I hope you have a good one. I'll see you next week. Next week is the last week that we have that's going to be actually like a kind of a random episode before Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew is going to come out. We're going to watch that. We're going to break that down for everyone. It's going to be really fun. I think it looks really cool. I think it looks really, really cool. I'm really keen to dive into this one and see this new world. Neil looks like a fucking badass. He looks like a fucking badass. I love Neil so far. Obviously, only trailers. Love Neil so far. Very keen to dive into that. Remember, Blades and Beskar, that's my Lord of the Rings series. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. AEDT. Go check out my previous episode. I am so proud of that. I actually think that's my best episode that I've ever done. Be that Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I think it's so concise. It was such a passion project for me. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope to see you guys there as well. Love you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao! Love you, bitches.